Hi, this is Christopher Luttrell, and here is my final exam. I'll be answering the questions 1 through 4 in order. I will say when I am moving from one question to the next. Number 1. Thomas de Zingotita argues in his book Mediated and in the essay The Numbing of the American Mind that we live in a world that is mediated, where the lines between reality and fabrication are rapidly blurring. This statement is true in the blob of our postmodern mediated world, that there is so much information being fed to the people, quote, soap opera politics, the therapy industry, online communities, digital effects, workshops for every workplace, Viagra, Prozac, Ritalin, and reality TV, end quote, that is not real. There is no, quote, no important difference between fabrication and reality. Zingotita reminds us to love the blob. Media, because of this blurring of reality, is teaching us how to act as humans. We have become self-conscious performance actors with an array of options that define our chosen way of life. An example comes in the form of former President Bill Clinton. Clinton was a great method actor. So great that although he was caught cheating on his wife and was impeached, his approval ratings were never higher. Another example discussed by Zingotita is one such as a husband, quote, playing a role as a spouse, end quote, rather than being a good spouse, playing or acting rather than being. We as a people have become, quote, individualized experts at expressing our authenticity, end quote. An example of this is remembering where you were when you saw some serious event happen, such as 9/11. This act expresses authenticity in a performative way. Zingotita also argues that humans are the center of the mediated universe. He says, quote, the flattered self is a mediated self, end quote. Media also turns around stories to tell you how it was or how it has affected you, the viewer, who is, again, the center of the mediated universe. People do not talk about the disasters, they talk about what they were doing during them. And rather than dealing with the reality of that event, reality is dealt with through something else, like reality TV, because, after all, Hogan knows best. Zingotita's argument helps me understand myself, my role in our mediated blob, and that I know and understand that my role as a husband is one that I cannot act in, but is one that I must live in reality. Also, Zingotita is pointing out that we live in a world where we remember ourselves rather than the events. Tell me that I should focus more on those history-altering events rather than focus on, say, what color of shoes I was wearing when 9/11 happened. They were black combat boots. Or what it was I was having for lunch the day the Challenger blew up. I was having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Media must be enjoyed and not taken so serious that it envelops your life and controls when you will sit on your couch and hit your remote like a lab rat hitting the feeder bar at the end of a maze. By dumping at least one source of the numb media, such as television, people would be able to live and appreciate a world that was less mediated. This is number 2. In the movies Outfoxed, Control Room, and Independent Media in a Time of War, examples of created reality are visible that media gives the viewers. An example from Outfoxed would be in how Fox News Channel uses graphics and their Fox News alerts to tell the viewer that it is an important message coming across rather than reporting a message and allowing the viewer to decide, which is one of their slogans, we report, you decide. Control Room shows the viewer how the military, in a time of war, uses propaganda to create a reality for the people back home to see. The toppling of the statue of Saddam Hussein was clearly staged, but people accepted it as reality because it is what they were told it was. They were told it was reality. An example of created reality from independent media in a time of war is when Amy Goodman and her group of war protesters were out protesting the war. The news anchor who was covering the war protest was saying that they didn't really know what they were protesting at all, and they didn't know why they were there even. The media, because it wanted to focus on the created reality being given to it by the government and not wanting to upset that flow of information from the government, so that way they could continue to get that information from the government that had created the reality and give it out to all the people. So it had to downplay and distort the message of those who opposed the war rather than just report what was going on. All three of the films show the American government and its controls on the media in a time of war to create a reality around the war. Even though war is a negative thing, they want to look as positive as possible. Now, I remember I was in the Army when the Jessica Lynch story came out, and all the troops were saying, what is this? This doesn't matter. The Jessica Lynch story is an example of a created reality that is given to the people, and it's during a time of war to control the media. And this is number 3. The satire of Savage Girl was clear, but the story was lost on me a bit. I thought that the goal of the story was to show the absurdity of our consumer society and of marketing. While I can't say much about capitalism absorbing the style of its antagonists, I can say that the author uses these trend spotters to show that we as consumers will buy anything we're told we need, and we'll buy anything that we're told to buy. The diet water, of course, being the example there. I do wish I had more time to dedicate to reading this book. I was fitting it in between 5 books from another class, and I was reading it a page here and a page there. So it was a travesty that I didn't get a chance to read the book from cover to cover straight through. So I'll move on to the next one. Number 4. I was, in fact, for the most part, aside from the TV being on at in-laws' house and going to Wiley's Pub and a basketball game being on, I was able to avoid those entertainment types of media. I did not use the computer to do anything more than study, write, or finish up schoolwork. I think that the fact that final exams were this week helped me make this assignment a little easier. I also had an advantage in that I don't have cable in my house. My wife and I were unable to afford the luxury when we first bought our house, and now we just don't have it because we've found that we're in fact closer now than we were when we had cable. We do watch movies, so no, we're not hermits. I do read the daily newspaper. One of my roles as a varsity track coach is to use the newspaper as a tool to scout upcoming meets, and also as a football coach, I'm always looking for a new hire if a school were so inclined to release a good coach. I do find our newspaper, the Visalia Times-Delta, to be littered with processed news and ads. News that is from Gannett, so it's in every Gannett paper, regardless of where at in the country it is. And I hope to one day find a newspaper that's not so status quo, non-Gannett. My media consumership, I think, because I usually listen to talk radio, albeit sports talk radio, some of the conservative talk radio, I think is average since I don't watch TV. I can only imagine what 3 hours TV a day would do to me, and my spare time. I think that overall, I'm not a mediated person, not all the way, anyways. So that's all. I hope that the recording gets all right. I used a trial version of a recording software, so you have probably heard a lady come on and some loud noise that says it was a trial version. So hopefully this worked anyways. I enjoyed the class. Good movies, good books. I'm gonna reread Savage Girl straight through and have a good spring break, Easter break.